broadcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in a cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised. You are now entering the all-consuming realm of Shea's Paranormal Chat, where the things that are better left unsaid are actually said.
Shut up and sit down.
You're listening to Shea's Paranormal Chat. Paranormal podcasting done Shea's way. Tons of fun.
Dude, seriously?
A bit sarcastic.
Hashtag investigator, not hunter.
But always real. Don't get your panties in a twist.
Oh my god, really?
This is real, raw conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Shea's Paranormal Chat. Thank you for coming. Quick hello to everybody that has first joined us in chat. We have Miss Jen. We have my partner in crime, my sister Nicole. We have Miss Kim, who is first in chat tonight. And to everybody that will be listening later on, thank you very much. We have tons to talk about tonight, so I'm not going to hesitate to introduce the next guest. And we have Miss Cindy Sauer. There we go.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I've been looking forward to the show and getting your story out there some more.
Thank you so much.
No, I appreciate you coming on and talking about this. It's not very easy to talk about, so.
It helps, it helps to be able to convey it and to talk about things that I don't think people consider when it comes to the situation. Yeah. So, as difficult as it is sometimes to discuss, I feel like it's very important for me to do so. Not just for me, but for, the people that went through it with me and for people who might have problems themselves. So,
yeah. Helping people along the way. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I don't have a co-host tonight, so I'm going to try to focus on you and chat, but I suck doing that anyways because I'm so used to being involved in chat, but
that's okay.
I'm all by myself tonight. And for anybody listening, John should be joining us very, very shortly here. He's going to jump on here when he's able to. So if anybody hears a male voice all of a sudden, they know it's an actual person.
Yes, it is.
So, let's start way back.
Okay.
Again, I know a lot of the story, but I'll ask as if I don't know.
Right.
What was your first paranormal experience? What got you into the paranormal?
My first experience happened when I was around 4 or 5. And it was actually an incident where I saw my recently deceased great-grandmother in my bedroom at night. My sister and myself both witnessed it. We woke up in the middle of the night. She actually was nudging me and pointed to the foot of the bed, and I looked down, and there's a chair sitting, against the wall, and it's facing toward our bed at the foot of the bed. And in the chair was sitting my great-grandmother. And that was the first real experience I'd had. I really didn't, at that time, equate it with, anything paranormal. I'm not even sure that I really knew what a ghost was or what spirits were. I did know that my great-grandmother had died, but I didn't know anything else. That was all I knew. John says it won't let. John is trying to join.
Is he joining the right? Hold on. What's on? Let's see. Yeah, being that young, you might not.
Yeah, no, I don't think I wasn't really told anything about it. Up to that point. But we did talk to my grandmother and my mom. They did believe us, and kind of learned from there about what this whole thing was. What people weren't. They died, and at that point, I just knew they went to heaven, but I didn't know that they could still be here. So, hello.
Hi.
Hi.
What's up?
John has made it.
Here's Johnny.
It's Johnny, yeah. We're praying for no fire alarms tonight, John.
Oh, man, it would be my luck if it did.
Right? It hasn't gone off since that night, so.
All right, so don't let me interrupt. Continue.
Too late. You already did.
No, several times.
So after you saw it was your great grandmother. You a couple years later, anyways, you started to read into the paranormal and.
Did.
So.
Yeah, that's what got me going. As a kid, I spent a lot of time reading about this, just really curious about it, and kind of carried through to adulthood. So it was something that was always interesting. I was intrigued and always wanted to know more. So it's been a lifelong thing.
Did we're close to the same age. I'm not going to ask you on air how old you are, but I can tell by the children's ages that we're kind of close anyways. Do you remember the Time Life books?
I do.
See, not many people know. That's the first thing I read because I was into the paranormal, and that was the first thing I got my hands on. I read them all. They were that black, the black.
I read them.
Yeah.
My grandfather had them. I did. I read them too.
Yeah, see, that's many people like, I have to look into that. What the hell are you talking about? But that's the first stuff I ever read, and there was like 12, I think. There's a bunch of them, anyways.
Yeah.
So, I keep interrupting, but that's what I'm good for. But I had to ask because we're around the same age, and you started reading young about the paranormal. So I'm like, she might have, yeah. Because I was like 10 when I started reading those.
Oh, and they were in the library, too. You could check them out in the library.
Yeah, I remember I had the dictionary next to it because I was so young. I had to look up some words as I went, like back and forth. But, so, yeah, I remember those. And many people don't. I don't know why, but they were great. I wish I could find them now.
Well, some people, I guess a lot of people didn't like to read. I've always wanted to read, though.
Yeah.
I love reading.
I used to love reading. Okay, so where do you want to go? I'm going to let you take the lead on this. How do you want to... I'm being very cautious about how to bring up what here. I know we said we could talk about it, but...
Yeah, don't be afraid to bring, just whatever you're curious about is fine.
So, what was your next paranormal experience?
My next experience was, it was actually not very long after that. It was a few years after. And it was my sister again and myself, and we were supposed to be going to sleep. We were in the bed, and we got in trouble for being too noisy, so the door got shut. We were in a dark room. And I had turned over facing away from her. And she was really quiet. And I had something I wanted to say to her. So I turned over, even though I couldn't see her. I turned to face her. And when I did, she was looking at me, but her face had completely changed. Now, it was in a dark room. and I could still see this. It was almost like it had some iridescence or glow to it. And her face had completely distorted and had like this wild hair and these sunken in eyes, and just it was pretty bad. And it was only for a split second, and I freaked out, and the light got turned on and she was fine. And that was the second experience.
How old were you then?
I think I was about 7 or 8 then.
Yeah.
So, and it just continued from there. I would see things, hear things. A lot of it you just kind of brush off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you try to. And my family would talk about it. They would talk about things they'd experienced, my grandfather, my mother, things like that. And it just kind of seems to be a theme with my family. So, I kind of grew up hearing this stuff. It wasn't anything foreign to me. And I think that's a little bit more too of what fueled my curiosity and caused me to want to dig further into it. And then as I got older, before shows, there were any shows on TV, I wanted to check this stuff out. Yeah. So a friend of mine and my brother, we just basic stuff. We'd go to cemeteries and places like that and just try to document and see what we could find. So, it turned into that. And, it was all good stuff. It wasn't really, the only bad experiences I had at that point were when I still lived at home and my grandfather was very ill and in the hospital, and we experienced some bad things then. It wasn't me necessarily that had most of the experiences, but, some things happened that were questionable and kind of seemed negative. But, I forgot about those. And you move forward. I never expected it to evolve into what it did, or to turn as negative as it did. That was something I just never thought about. I never looked up demonology or, demonic names or, what to do if something happens. I really thought that if you just ignored it, then nothing can happen. So that's what I did.
So how long were you married?
I was married for 13 years.
13 years. So,
yes.
So 13 years, and then unfortunately your husband commits suicide.
Yes.
And going by what I've read and by what I saw, because I did watch the episode, if anybody's listening, her story is featured on A Haunting, season 5, episode 9.
Yes.
So I didn't even have to look. I remember. So up until that point, before your husband died, did you guys experience any paranormal that you knew of at that time?
Yeah, we experienced, small things, nothing major. He thought he had something walk across the bed one day. That was about the extent of it. We just see shadows, different things. It was nothing, nothing extraordinary.
What was I would call normal paranormal.
Yeah, exactly. And he would joke about, me bringing things home with me, things like that. But, nothing very significant at all. And it mostly was quiet. It never had any concerns. So, I did what I did. We went to these different places and nothing ever really happened.
You were still investigating, or ghost hunting, as you call it, throughout your marriage?
The last, 3 or 4 years I wasn't.
Okay.
I was no longer doing that. So, I'd kind of not really given up on it, but just put it on the back burner for a while.
So after your husband died, this is where I got a little confused on your story. Did you stay in the same house, or did you move to the new house?
We did not. We left town for a few months.
Okay. So,
we did stay gone. I felt like it was best for us to, to be out for a while. And I wasn't entirely sure that I was going to be able to go back to the house. That was a big struggle for me. and having the kids. It wasn't really something I wanted to even think about, but I eventually had to make the decision to go back.
And that was
The
in
house
Georgia, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the house was paid for. It was mine, and it was just sitting. So I did make a hard choice, and I decided that we needed to go back. So
did he die in the house?
He did.
He did. I'm sorry.
Yes, he did.
For your loss.
That's okay. Yeah, thank you.
What's it? 8 years later, and I'm sure it still feels new.
Yeah. Suicide's a little tougher than
yeah.
It's a little different to have to deal with. You come to a place where you have to accept that there are answers that you're never going to get. And I think once you come to that place, you're a little more able to move forward. So, yeah.
But getting there is a struggle. I know.
It is. It absolutely is.
It really is. So you moved back to the house, and what was the first experience you had after that?
Once we moved back in, it was maybe around a year later. So it was quite a bit. The first experience I had was being grabbed, and not just like being touched or nudged, but like forcefully grabbed. That was the first thing that happened, and of course, I'm thinking, okay, it's got to be him, and it was still disconcerting. It's still something I did not want happening, and but we were still grieving. We were not in the best place, so it was me experiencing it. So I figured, okay, well, it happened. Let's not let this happen again, and kind of move on. What are you going to do about it? I mean, honestly, what do you do?
Right.
So, yeah, just kind of leave it there and try not to think about it. And that's sort of the attitude I took from that point on for a while. Different things had happened. My daughter had an experience not very long after that, where she saw her dad standing outside. And he was near, an old shop that he had made. And, it upset her pretty severely. And most people, if they see a loved one who's deceased, it'll be sad, but, it won't be extremely upsetting. But she was really, really upset. I had to pick her up off the floor, off the porch, and bring her inside. We had to, console her and calm her down before we could even figure out what had happened. And she saw him out there. She said he was standing there and looked at her, and she was scared. She was intimidated, and she said it looked like him, but it wasn't him. And I didn't understand at that point what was going on.
How old was she?
She was 13.
Okay.
And, being a mom, that pisses you off. You're pissed. Someone's bothering your kid. So I march outside.
That's where the line is.
Yeah. And I'm mad. And I proceed to say, several things, and am really, really upset. And, I didn't know what to do. And this lug nut comes flying out of thin air and just whizzes right by my head. And, it came very close to hitting me. And after that happened, I just shut up and went back inside. I was quiet after that. I mean,
did you take it as a threat, or did you take it as a sign?
I took it as a threat as much as I didn't want to. It was very threatening. The entire situation, the entire incident to me was threatening. And because I knew Jim, I knew the person that he was, and also knew that he would never scare his child like that, regardless of what the situation was, that he would not ever do that. I knew that. I knew it in my heart. So, yeah, it was intimidating, and I felt threatened at that point. I really did.
But you still, at this point, didn't think of, not that anybody would, but you didn't think of doing anything. You just kind of let it.
No, I didn't know.
Let this stuff build up
Yeah.
until it gets too late.
You do, and I didn't know what to do. You can, I told a couple people, but we really didn't have very many people, and
exactly. Yeah, it's not like today.
No, it's not. And after suicide, suicide does strange things to people, and we lost a lot of people after that happened. So we were kind of by ourselves, and I really didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know what was going on. I had no clue. And I didn't want people thinking, okay, well, she's lost it. She's in the house where he died and she's just lost her mind. Yeah. So it was walking a tightrope at that point. And things weren't quite bad enough, to me, to do something about it. And I really wasn't sure what to do at that point anyway. So, I just tried to keep taking care of the kids. And hope that nothing else happened. And that's sort of, that's the only thing I could do at that point.
But then something else does happen.
Yeah, it does. Got to the point where things started to break around the house. I had a crucifix on the wall. And one day it just, it had been up there forever. Even before, everything happened. It had been up there for years. It fell off the wall and it broke at the arms and at the ankles. So still, it's like, okay, fine. I'll glue it back together. It's fine. Still didn't think anything. Then there was a day where this Bible, it was sitting beside his ashes on a table. And this Bible, I did not witness it. My niece was there. It flew across the room and the pages ripped out of it. And I don't know, several feet away. And when I came in, it was that way. She had run outside, left the house and was terrified. And I came in and found it that way. And so it was sort of, I guess, based with religious items at that point, that things started to they would break or tear up. And then I started to kind of get worried. I was nervous, but I just kept, I kept moving forward. I was still confused, and it's not something you want to accept. It's
and
something.
You have children, so that's what a mother does. They keep pushing forward, and it might be in the back of your mind, but you got to do what you got to do to get through everyday life. Yeah. And this stuff is happening and it's worrying you, but your main goal is everyday life, so.
Especially at that point, they're still, it's just me. I'm all they've got. So I've got to hang tough and
you got to keep it together.
Yeah, had to. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah. I'm reading John's comments. See the smile, that guilty smile?
I always have a guilty smile, constantly.
So when did things take a turn for the worse, even more severe than what's already happened? Can you pinpoint?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, to the day it was September 29th. 2011. And that's the day that I suffered my first attack. That's the only thing I can really call it.
Right.
That's the only word I have for it. And it was bad. It was really bad. And it's funny that even after it happened, I was still in the state of denial. I still did not want to think about that. And I still thought, okay, that was an isolated incident. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's all it was, because it didn't happen at my home.
Right.
So I thought, okay, I'm not home. It's okay. It was something attached to that place. So I'm fine.
Where were you? Do you want to?
Was at an old abandoned house. We had decided to check it out, and we're poking around, and it just turned really bad really quickly. It just wasn't what I expected when we went.
Who would expect that, though?
No, nobody would.
No.
Something attacked me. That's all I knew that night. It was something. It was big. It was very big. And it took me over. That's the best thing I could say, I guess. It manipulated my body. I was not able to stop it. It happened. I'm not quite sure exactly how long the entire incident was, honestly. There are lapses in maybe memory, I guess. And I'm not sure what those are because they're memory lapses. I don't know. I can't fill in those blanks, but it was a while. We got to the location, I think around 1 a.m. And I know that I didn't get back home, and home was only 20 minutes away, and I didn't get back home till sunrise. So
wow.
It was pretty lengthy, and we never made it into the house. We went during the day and sort of got a layout of the house, went inside to see, what it was like. And when we went back that night, we never even made it into the house.
You made it around the house, yeah. And that was about it, right?
Around the back. Yeah, we made it around to the back of the house, and it was this house was huge. It's amazing. And we never made it there. There was something there as soon as I stepped, even before I got out of the car. I didn't want to be there. I just fought through it. I thought, it's just anxiety. You're just scared, I know that we weren't there for very long. I couldn't give you like an exact time, yeah. But it wasn't very long. We actually had a recorder. We were recording, and we thought we heard a car pull in. So we went around to the, where we were parked, which was kind of on the side of the house under a light. And I was extremely uncomfortable. And it felt like there were things everywhere, just all around. Everything was sort of moving. It was really weird. The energy had changed completely. It was difficult. I was cold, and it was not a cold night. And I went to get into the car. I tried to get in, but the car was locked. And that's when I heard something behind me, and I turned around. There was a grove of trees. It was some kind of trees. I think it was pecan trees. I'm not sure. But whatever came through the trees, it sounded like it was ripping the trees down. And
when you say sound, did you ever physically see it this night?
Yeah. I saw it looked like vapor. I guess that's the best way I can put it. It looked like on a hot street, street on a hot day, if you're looking at a certain angle, it looked like that, very heavy, like a very heavy vapor.
Was it dark or light?
It was dark.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of transparent, and it had to be, it was tall. It was huge. It had to be 30, 40 feet.
Wow.
It was massive, and it just came at me. And I did not get in the car in time. And it just kind of spiraled downhill from there. We did leave at that moment, but it was already there. So it was with me at that point.
So you guys, trying to word this right. So it either attacked you or attached to you at this point. You're still not sure, but you started acting out. You said, your words were, it took over you.
Yeah.
Do you remember what you were doing and how it came to an end? Like,
Yeah, a lot of these attacks, a lot of these incidents, I'm very aware of what's happening. I'm aware of what's going for the most part. Now there may be things, and I know there are things that I don't recall, but for the most part, I know what's happening. I know what's going on, and I understand.
You can't stop it. You have no control, but you're consciously aware of what you were saying, what you were doing. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, and mostly aware. There are times when it happens. And if there's someone there, I will ask what happened, or they will tell me, and then some of it's fuzzy, and I can't. I don't remember parts of it, but I do know what's happening, because the thing is that it's very internal. There's such an internal fight going on with trying to push this out that you kind of get pushed back inside yourself. You have no control over any of your faculties. You really don't. There are times when, I certainly can't talk, and I can't tell anybody what's happening. And there are people who know their cues, things you can pick up on. There are sometimes I can't even breathe. Like I cease to breathe because I don't. And as terrifying as it is, like I know I'm not breathing, I don't have the urge to breathe. Like I just don't feel it's there.
So it's an internal struggle in many different ways.
Absolutely. That's a big thing that I would like.
You want to fight it, but you don't really care to fight it at the same time.
Part of you, yes. Yeah. That's what happens, because the part of you that they are so intermingled with doesn't want that to happen. But the part that is authentically and truly you wants nothing more than for it to stop. And so you're trying to fight to kind of resurface and to gain a hold on, your physical self. So
when this ends, I can't even imagine the exhaustion like you feel in between. I can't even imagine the physical toll it takes on you, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It does. It's painful. It can leave you very sore. It's draining physically and emotionally, mentally, spiritually. It's draining. It's a big drain, and there is some recovery time. It takes some time to kind of even come around and to not feel disconnected and to go about your business. It's not that easy to just pick up and say, okay, well, I've got to go do dishes, or the kids need something to eat. So that's the hard part, I think. You don't want this to bleed over
to them,
to anybody.
Yeah.
To anybody. You don't want people to have to deal with it either. And it's pretty difficult to just keep going with your day after that happens, and pretend like everything's cool. But unfortunately, that's kind of what you have to do, regardless of how bad they are or what kind of toll it takes on you. You can't just curl up in a ball and have a pity party.
Do you think being a mother helped you in that regard? Like,
absolutely.
There was only so much downtime you could take before the urge of mothering that, we have that instinct. We have to do what we have to do.
Yeah, it did, because that's something that, kept me focused, and I didn't have the option to not do that. That wasn't an option for me to just say, okay.
You or nobody.
Yeah, it was me or nobody. And, I was not about to fail my kids. And, I had tried to keep it away from them as much as I could. And that was a huge thing for me too, is after these things started to happen, and after kind of realized what was going on, it was a big thing for me to try my best to keep it away from the kids, especially the younger kids, and for them not to have to experience any of it, because that's heartbreaking. They should never have to see their mother that way.
How old were your children at this time? Do you remember, like, roughly?
Yeah. At that time, my youngest was 8 when it started. And my middle one then was 13, almost 14. And then my oldest was 16. So my oldest left, it was not too long after things started to get, difficult, that she moved out. So it was just myself and my two, my 13, 14-year-old, and then my 8-year-old. So, yeah, it's hard when you're the only parent to keep things like that.
It's hard to be the only parent normally, never mind under these circumstances. I mean, the struggle mentally, on a normal single mother is outrageous. Never mind dealing with all of this. When did it come to a point that you just knew, okay, I need help? Like, something must have occurred for you to stop being like, okay, I have to stop letting this go. I need to do something.
It was actually Halloween. And I had an attack, and it was so severe that I didn't have a choice but to get help after that. I actually had to watch it happen because I was standing in front of the mirror in the bathroom, and I couldn't move. So all I could do was sit and watch it happen. So I had to watch this happen to myself. And I actually saw what occurred. And I knew, and it was a really severe attack. It's probably the most severe I'd had at that point.
What happened?
My daughter at the time, that was when I had a younger, she's 8 now. She was 3, and she had gotten into the bathtub with her Halloween costume on. And it was funny. We kind of laughed it off. It wasn't that huge a deal. So I took her out of the bathroom and gave her to her big sister to clean up and, dry her outfit. And I went to pull the plug in the tub. And when I bent over, and I was fine, I felt fine, I sat down on the side of the tub and bent over and pulled the plug, and this noise came out of me. And it was a very animalistic noise. It was a growl. It was really deep and guttural, and it like came from the very bottom of me. And it was terrifying. As this was happening, this was coming out of me, I was scared to death. And my body started to kind of lock up. And I knew what was coming. I went to my bedroom door and shut it. And by the time I got to my bathroom door, my body was really hard to control. And I went in the bathroom and shut the door and locked it. And I stood there and in the mirror, and just all I could do was stand there. And everything just got tight. My shoulders, one was kind of higher than the other one. It was wrong. My face changed. It contorted. I couldn't breathe good. My legs, my feet twisted, and they almost turned completely backward. It was painful. It was not good. It was not good. And my eyes even changed. And it was at that point that I knew I had to do something. And I just, it lasted for a few minutes, I think. When it was over, I wiped away tears, and I just went back out and I took them trick-or-treating. And it's like two things like that should not mix. You shouldn't, they don't go together. Those two different things.
Yeah, but you probably only got through this because you were a single mother.
Yeah.
People might not understand, especially people that aren't a parent or even a single parent, but you have to do what you have to do, and sometimes you can convince yourself that things aren't a big deal when they are.
Yeah, and I did up to that point. There were a lot of other smaller things that happened. There were a lot of external things that had occurred at that point where that I was not the only one that experienced it. Other people did who would come over to my house. My kids experienced things, scratching on the walls, knocking from inside the walls, smells, sounds, shadows, typical stuff. So it was external and it was internal. So
you put it all together and you have a huge problem.
Oh yeah, big problem.
But you can we can put it off in our minds as one thing here, one thing here.
Yes, you compartmentalize each thing.
That's the word. Thank you. Yes, that's what I was thinking.
And you can really play ignorant.
Yeah.
But you can't. I did.
I didn't have a choice. I mean, you can't.
No.
You can't lay on the floor and not get up. You have kids. And they already lost their dad. And you have to.
Yeah, I had to. I didn't want them to lose me too.
Yeah. So who did you go to for help? How did this whole?
Well, before that one incident, I had been sort of, I did a lot of research on the computer. I looked up so many things. I stayed up, I was at the point where I couldn't really sleep at night. I was terrified to sleep. Even the idea of going to sleep was terrible. If it wasn't something standing by my bed or a growl in the corner, then it was nightmares. It was always something. So sleep was just hard to come by. And I spent many hours on my laptop just looking things up. And one of the things I'd done was come across a local team who, they seemed reputable. And I kind of put it, on the back burner. And it was like, okay, just in case. Because I looked at a lot. And it was that night that I knew I had to do something. So I sent an email, just requesting some kind of help, and did the best of my ability to convey what was going on. And in the email, I had to write that I think I have problems with a demon. And that's the first time I'd ever
admitted it.
Yeah. And that was hard. That was hard. So, I sent the email to a local group, and they were a TAPS family member. So I was like, okay, maybe they can help. Can't hurt. So I reached out to them, and I got a response pretty quickly. And it kind of went from there. They were out pretty fast, and things just happened really fast. Their visit was interesting. So their initial visit was it was strange. It was very strange. And that visit, they were, kind of convinced that I needed to talk to a priest. So it went that far, and within a few weeks of that is when Father Darren was scheduled to come out and talk to me. And all this happened, it started at the end of September, and it did not end until November. So, I mean, it's pretty quick, but it was...
I'm sure it didn't feel it.
Yeah, no, it didn't. So, yeah.
So
it happened pretty quick.
So they got a hold of the priest. So the priest comes, obviously, the priest saw. Was it can I ask what was it, a Catholic priest? Not that it matters.
He was an Orthodox priest.
Orthodox. Okay.
So, yeah, and it had to be, he had to go through the proper channels and everything.
The same type
yes, absolutely, because it's the same concept. It is Catholic. It's it's Orthodox Catholic. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure all of the interactions that happened between him and the paranormal group that came out that would have prompted him to want to do this and do it so quickly. I'm not sure.
Did he witness anything, whether film or in person or?
Yes.
I figured, but I got to ask,
Yeah, he absolutely did. I knew what was going to happen before the day that he came. It knew what was going to happen.
You said they.
And,
does that mean there was multiple?
Yeah.
Are you not sure? You think?
No. Yeah, I know. Yeah, definitely more. It was sort of, no one ever said exorcism. Let's put it that way. They said he was coming to speak to me, but I knew already. And, I did not want it to happen. I agreed to it. It's fine because I knew I needed help. But about an hour beforehand, I was not doing well. And I changed my mind.
Was it you that agreed to it?
Yes, it was me that agreed to it.
But it was whatever was in you was like saying no, no, no.
Yes. Okay. Yes. At that point, things were so integrated that there was, it was hard to differentiate at that point between myself and it. There was that sort of
it was
order.
Intertwined.
Yeah, but it had disappeared. That line between the two had started to fade pretty well. And so it was hard for me to tell it sometimes if it was me or not. But I knew at that point I did not want it to happen. And I did not want him to be there. And things got really bad before he even came into the driveway. And I was left alone for a few minutes, and that's when things got really bad. Then by the time all these people came shuffling in the door, I was in full on, a crazy mode, I guess. I'm not sure what to call it. I was done at that point. I had no control. So, when the priest walked in the door, things had already gone to hell.
They went from bad to worse?
Very bad. Yeah.
So.
Yes.
So did he do the exorcism that day?
Yeah, he did. He didn't have a choice. And he knew what he was going to do before he came.
Is it, I don't know how to word this. I'm assuming he came back more than once?
No, not at that point. Not at that point. No. But no, this was the first time I'd ever. Did he
ever though? Like, is it like my question? Let me reword it. My question is: Is it one exorcism, even if it's multiple times, or is it multiple exorcisms?
It would generally be multiple.
Okay. Because
I don't think that either party can handle something that difficult for a constant amount of time.
So that's what I mean. So it's not you had one broken down into different sessions. You've had multiple exorcisms.
Well,
it's not one and done. It's not one and done. It would, from the story that I've heard this story a million times, and it's never changed every time I hear it.
No,
it's definitely
I don't mean her story. I just mean how did they?
It's not one and done. No,
right?
No, it's definitely not.
But it's considered multiple exorcisms, is what you know.
Yeah, the rites themselves that day I know were done more than once.
Okay.
So it did have to be repeated that day. So, in my experience, I would not think that one single exorcism is a cure-all.
No, I've never heard of somebody having just one, but I never know how to word it, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is it exorcisms, or is it just one exorcism, multiple sessions? I guess it depends on each person, but I've never heard of one person
and I would say that each session, if it's over different days, I would say that it would be different exorcisms, maybe.
Yeah. I've looked into this, and it's different people give different answers, so I really don't know.
Yeah. And I think that kind of lends credence to the fact that this is a big unknown. That this is, not a lot of people take it seriously, and not enough to have very much knowledge to share about it. And the fact that there aren't very many documented cases of it, so that makes it that much harder to research and document, as far as findings and matching things up and, seeing what happened in this case or that case, because it's just largely, I don't think it happens very often.
No.
I don't.
No. We were talking about this a little bit. Too many people.
You have a question in chat, though, real quick. Nicole said, I want to make sure I had it right, Cindy. Nicole asked, how many exorcisms did you have? I said 2.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
That's where I started going, but forgot. Not that I saw her question, but that is where I was starting to go. But then, you know me, I go on that ramble, trying to figure out in my head what I mean. So
that's why I'm here.
You're just here to show us your beard, I think. They can't see it in the chat, but we can. That wouldn't be me if I wasn't a little bit funny. So after he left, did you feel a relief the first time?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Did you think, oh, it's over, or did you know?
I did. I thought it was over. I thought it was okay, and I thought it was, just that I was done. And, I wanted it to be done. I wanted it to be over. And I wanted it to just be a chapter in my life that was closed and done and over with.
So how long before stuff started happening again, and when did you realize? Did you realize the first time something happened it was bad? How long did it take? I'm not done. What do I do now?
It's funny because even after what I went through, there was still this certain level of denial.
Of course.
That, that was there. So I don't know. I mean, I can't say that things have to get really bad.
So it escalated little by little.
Yeah, and at this point is not only that, it was this also added anxiety of, my God, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to. I don't want to do it again.
The exorcism.
I remember. I remember parts of it. Yeah, I do. Like I said, I was pretty conscious about what was going on. So yeah, I do remember parts of it.
So what happened before he came back to make him? Because I'm just putting myself in your shoes, and I know what it was.
Yeah,
like, so I'm just.
It was like a bad nightmare all over again. Really, it really was. It was a lot of the same stuff. It was familiar, but I thought maybe it's just trying to bug me.
Did you know it was it? And I'm using air quotes. They can't see me. Did you know it was the same thing? You did. Yeah. But you just kind of, again, pushed it off.
Yeah, I did again. Because you don't want to do it again. You definitely don't want to accept it. You don't want to do it. And you do not want to go through the whole thing again. There's just nothing in you that wants to do it. That word, you don't want to think about a priest. You don't want to think about exorcism. That's just not, it's not in your plans. And it was not, after going through one, you definitely don't want to do another one.
How long did the first one take?
I'm not really quite sure.
You're not sure? Yeah, because you were, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really sure from start to finish. I'm
assuming it's a good amount of time, though. It wasn't like,
yeah,
bless you,
I
and
would
leave,
think,
but
because I know that they were set to arrive at noon, and he got there a little early. Mm-hmm. And I also know that when everything kind of wound down and everybody left, that it was getting closer to dark. So I'm not sure. I'm really not.
So did you reach out to him or the team when you got in trouble again? When you finally admitted that you were in trouble, not you got in trouble.
I had spoken to the team on several occasions because I was being approached to do different things. One of them wanted to write a book. Another was approached by Destination America.
Yeah.
So, I was in the throes of that as well, and speaking to him about this stuff. And, telling them that I think something's going on again, and, they were like, we'll just keep a check on things, and giving me some advice on what they think I should do. But, I still was hesitant to call the priest. I did not want to do that. Just didn't want to do it. So I held off on that. I just, you kind of keep a stubborn attitude sometimes, and you really, no matter what happens, you're still not ready to throw the towel in and say,
whether even, I agree with that, but also if something's attached to you, or if you're still possessed, there's something in you also saying no. So you have your own stubbornness and not wanting this. You have that inner thing saying, no, you don't need this. No.
Oh, yeah. Saying more than that. Regular conversations with these things.
Yeah.
On a regular basis, speaking to these things. Yeah. Making bargains, wagering with them. Things you shouldn't do, but at that point, it's like, what are your options? But hearing them on a regular basis.
You talk yourself out of it.
Yeah.
It sounds like it. It sounds like you almost knew what you had to do, but you're like, no, it can wait, or it's not that bad, or.
Well, they would tell me things. They would say, you're not going to do that. You don't, if you do that, this will happen. If you do that, that you're going to have to go through this again. You don't want to do that. And just, and it convincing me that I was better off with them than without them. So, that was a big one. That I was just crazy and imagining the whole thing. No, that was a big one. Well, that you're really just crazy. And none of this is really happening. And this is you. This is your brain. It's just, you're just insane. So that was another big one.
I'm not going to believe you. And I can.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
A lot of that. A whole lot of that. So, between all the internal stuff, the conflict, because it's huge. That's a huge part of the entire thing, is the internal conflict. And the inability to do anything about it. You can't pray. You can't go to a church. You can't. You have to stop. You have to stop trying to use religious items to help, because it only makes it worse sometimes. So you give up on all that.
Also sounds like the inability to know what is really your thoughts and what's not.
Oh,
it's so intertwined.
It is. Yeah. It absolutely is.
I keep using that word because it's like, once that line was crossed, all I can picture is the intertwining of it. It's like, the line's gone. Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. And it was like there were parts of my body that they preferred to kind of get into, Like my spine was a big thing. Like they would just wrap inside of that. And it sounds very strange, but
I've heard that before, actually.
They would do that and just, get further and further in. And it's like these tendrils or tentacles, and they were just embedding them deeper, just rooting inside of me. I would have pain in my lower back, especially my neck. I could tell when something was trying to claw at me to get in. My stomach, my lower stomach, that was another place. My gut, I could tell when something was inside of me because my stomach would bloat and protrude, and I would feel it. I'd feel it in there, and it would make sounds, which is just off-putting. But, it would happen. There were things I would go days without eating and not ever be hungry. I could drink alcohol and not ever get drunk. Medication did not work. Some days I could eat and eat and eat and eat obscene amounts of food and never be full. And it was things like that were just, they're horrifying to think about that. But there's a certain level.
Always one degree to another. Like there was
absolutely there's no in between.
Yeah.
No. And it's almost like this, it becomes such a part of you that it's almost like you kind of let it go further, because
it doesn't happen overnight either. And people think that this is something that built up. It was slowly.
It does.
Just like, any kind of pain. You slow building and you get used to it as it goes.
You're not going to go to a location and go in and hang out and, oh my God, I'm walking out possessed. Not going to happen.
No, it's a slow build up. So you get used to these tiny steps along the way. Looking back, it looks different. But it's like when you gain weight, you gain that weight little by little by little. It's not like every day you're like, oh my God, I'm up 3 sizes. No, all of a sudden you look and you're like, what the hell happened? How come I didn't recognize this?
Yep, exactly.
And you like to try to throw out analogies and metaphors so people try to get it.
But that's
this isn't overnight. Yeah.
No, it's not. And you start to wonder, they are good at convincing you that if I'm not here anymore, that, what are you going to be? If I'm gone, what are you going to be? What are you going to be like? What's
nothing without me kind of deal?
Yeah. Yeah. And you're going to be this hollow shell and not the person you are now. It's really, it plays on your mind a lot. It really does.
Can I add something?
Can you what?
I just wanted to add something. So basically what we're getting at here is what you see on TV as far as Zach Baggins goes and all these other paranormal teams that are out there. Oh my God, I was possessed. They was almost going to jump off a 2-story building. No, it doesn't happen that quickly, people.
No, it's slow. No. Yeah.
What you see on TV, absolute BS. So
Douche Baggins, get it right.
Yeah.
We're on the same page there.
Yeah. I'm glad we are.
Sorry, that's my nickname.
I like it.
Yeah. So here's a question. I don't know the answer to this, and if the answer is yes, you don't have to give any names or anything. But I'm curious to know: did you ever physically hurt anybody when you were in these states? And again, you don't have to say names or who it was, but so, yeah, you did. No, you didn't.
Myself.
Just yourself. Well, that's bad enough. I mean,
yes, it is. That's just me. I think me as a human being, just the person that I am, I can't hurt people.
So you think you fought?
I know I did. Yeah. I could not let that happen. And I did not let it happen. Myself, that's different. And I would have bruises and bites, and some of them were from me, some of them were not from me. I was bruised a lot. I woke up with bruises on my legs a lot, my arms, my stomach, my shoulders, my chest, sometimes on my face. So bites, scratches. That was kind of normal. That was a regular occurrence. So, but I never
what we call normal. Not we, because I've never dealt with anything like this, but as in general. It's funny what we call normal, because it's not normal, but to you, this was an everyday life. This was how it was so normal that looking back, this was my main, I'm interested in your story, don't take me wrong. But my main thing is looking back, is there any warning signs or anything that you would do differently that you can tell people that are listening what you wish you did differently, what you wish you had done sooner, what to watch for, any advice, just...
I'd like to say that that I would have sought help sooner. I'd like to say that, but I don't know. I can't say that I would have. I think that anybody, should you seek help as soon as possible? Yes, you should. But it's going to be different for different people and to different degrees. And you're not really going to know, to what extent it's going to go, or if you're dealing with a demon. What I would say, and the reason that I talk about this so much is because, I hope that people can hear this and take something from it. And if they're having similar problems, even if it's just, the beginning stages, just reach out for help. There's help, there's definite help. Is it easy to find? Not really. It's really not. I got lucky on my first try. It is not easy to find. Authentic teams are not easy to find. People who can deal with this stuff are not easy to find. People who are willing to deal with it, who are willing to stick their necks out, in situations like this and put themselves in harm's way to help a stranger. That's a lot to ask. They did it for me. I have people that help me to this day. They do it, and they don't have to, but they do. And they're out there. People who will help are there. And not to say that you have people that can solve this, because there are a lot of demonologists, and self-proclaimed, demon fighters who think they have the answers. But, I don't know. I feel like if they did have the answers, then I'd have more answers. So, I can't say that I would have done anything differently, honestly. Maybe the second time around, I would have not been in denial. How
about let's reword that. How about, is there stuff you would tell the people around the person that's suffering to do differently? Because if you're suffering from this, once I asked it, I realized what I was asking. You can't do anything different. The people that were around you, not that they knew, but like me as a paranormal investigator, tell me, is there early warning signs? Is there...
Yes. For me, there absolutely were. It sounds cliche, but the religious items that were being destroyed, that's kind of that's kind of an indicator. And having said that, but you don't know for sure if it did just fall, or if gusts of wind blew it, or, it's there's a fine line that you have to walk. People who are experiencing it around this person, I don't, from that point of view, I'm not sure that I could offer it. I'm not sure if I can offer anything up from that point of view, because I've only dealt with it from this side.
May I?
You may.
All right. So let me give you kind of a Johnism here. So October 12th, Miss Cindy joined Unexplained Paranormal Research with, in Massachusetts. And geez, it was Saturday.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm sitting in the truck, getting ready to, pick Cindy up at her hotel, getting ready to go to the Bradford house. Cindy happened to notice up in the trees there was several crows, and I was sitting in the truck, and I was like, yeah, I heard them. And I said it to her. And I don't know why I said it, but I did. And so I was kind of watching her. Now, from my experience, I'm a hunter. I always watch my dogs. The dogs will always tell you when there's a bird around. They'll point. There's the tell signs of something there. And Cindy got in the truck, in the passenger seat in the front, and I just happened to know she's just sitting there. Like, why she still got the door open? You're sitting there like, did she forget something? And it was just one of those things that all of a sudden I just knew something was up. Now, I am a self-proclaimed skeptic to the nines. But when this started happening, I knew something was up. So in my first aid kit, I always carry sage, tourmaline stones, rosaries, frankincense, and myrrh. You never know when you're going to need it. You never know. I've never, ever broke into it and never had to use it. So she sat there in the truck, and I'm talking to her, and she's not responding. So I don't know what happened at this point in time, but I got out of the truck, went into my first aid bag because we were off to the Bradford house, reached in, grabbed a rosary, didn't tell her what I was doing. Get back in the truck, put it in my hand so she could not see it. And I said to her, open your hand. And at this point in time, she slowly rolled her hand over, but couldn't open her hand. So I physically opened her hand, put it in her hand, and closed her hand. And then I said to myself, probably time to hold on, because I don't know what's going to happen. I've never, ever, ever, ever in my time doing this ever experienced anything like this. And I just, as soon as I grabbed on, I held on. I was afraid I was going to jam that rosary right into her hand and cut her wide open. But it's funny how a lady of her stature is 5'5". I'm almost 6 foot tall. I'm a good sized dude. Can all of a sudden start to overpower you, which I thought was really, really weird. She's either on steroids or she's lifting. She's doing something, man. This girl's strong. Holy shit. She started pulling her hand out of mine. I had no choice but to apply pressure and hold on. And so the next thing that came to mind was just stop praying. Just do something. You got to do something. You got to help this girl out. So I started throwing out the Lord's Prayer. And as soon as I got about halfway through it, I forgot it. I couldn't remember it. And then all of a sudden, it came right back to me again. I'm like, all right, boom. So I started saying that. And then I got into the St. Michael, which I should have done first. But I started the St. Michael, and I just started doing that, praying to him, asking, please come help, da-da-da-da-da, so on and so forth. And then when it's all of a sudden, the sounds started coming out of her. And I'm like, I wasn't scared at that particular point in time. I didn't even know I was really doing what I was doing. I was aware of what I was doing, but it was just almost like instinctively. It just happened. And the sounds, that the snarls and just guttural sounds that were coming out of this 5'5" lady was just like, wait a minute. So I didn't have time to be skeptical. I just reacted. And when it happened and everything started to seem to calm down, I started calling to her, come back to me. Come on, come back. Just keep coming back. And finally, she came back and had really no recollection. She said the only thing I remember was sitting in the truck, and that was the end of it. So anybody that knows me and is hearing me tell this story, they're probably like, oh, shoot, this guy? Really? Yeah, well, I did experience it, and it was rather strange because the strength that she had. I work with my hands all day long. I'm not a small guy. I'm pretty strong, and she was just about pulling her hand out of mine, and I couldn't believe it. At one point, I had two hands on her one just to hold her and keep that I was doing everything I possibly could to keep that rosary in her hand, because if I tried to put it around her neck, it would have been a fight, and I knew it. But it was really weird when it happened, because, again, I just got out of the truck. I knew what to do. It was weird. It was really strange. So, I mean, what I'm trying to get at, moral of the story is, pay attention to your dogs. Your dogs will tell you everything. You see somebody and you know they ain't right, and you know this person, start taking that into consideration. Oh, let's start reacting here. Let's go ahead. Let's do something. Doing something is better than doing nothing. Turning around and running away and not helping somebody because they fell down, and I think it's the most stupidest thing in the world. And at that point in time, she needed it, regardless. So after that was all said and done, and those were her cues: the dazing out, the snarling. Her body was starting to contort a little bit. It was just, she was fidgeting. It was just not right. It wasn't her. So those were her signs. There have been times when we've been talking that she's been able to tell me, but not all the time. And it was just really, it was strange. I knew what to do. And then when it was all said and done, we took some frankincense and myrrh oil and just, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit on her head. And it went away. I mean, I'm no demonologist. I'm not a priest. I'm not ordained. I had no clue what I was doing. None. Zero. I am not an expert, a professional, even though there are none in the paranormal field. I knew nothing. And it was just amazing how I reacted.
Yeah.
It was weird. I can't explain it. I just can't.
Nope.
That's my story,
Yeah.
and I'm sticking to it.
Well, it's a good thing, though. You let instinct take over. I was watching, Cindy, I was watching your face as he was telling the story. Is it hard for you to hear somebody else's point of view on this? It looked it.
Yeah, it's hard.
Especially if you don't remember, it's got to be like...
Well, there's a certain level of, I guess it's, you don't want people to see that. And, it makes you feel bad.
Yeah.
It makes you feel terrible having to put someone in that position. And, it's bad enough that you have to deal with it. But then, for other people to have to deal with it too, it's hard to.
It's not. Just remember, it's not your fault. I mean.
Yeah. It's not, and you know that logically. It's.
But inside,
yeah.
No,
but but I appreciate that though. If he hadn't been there,
who knows what would have happened? Yeah,
and if it hadn't been him. I don't know, because there have been people who don't know how to deal with these things, and who don't, and who have run. People have run away, and he did not. And he not only did he not run, he dealt with it as well as better than I've ever seen anybody deal with something like that. And to be able to, when it's all over, be like, "Yep, okay, let's go do this." And
go big or go home.
Yeah, and I just, what do you do? What do you say?
Contrary to what people think, and I could be wrong too, but this I'm going to give you from what I've gathered, and so tell me if you guys don't agree. But once you have been possessed or have, it's not like you can have 1 exorcism, 2 exorcisms, 3 exorcisms, and then you live happily ever after. Isn't it kind of like when you get sick, your immune system kind of weakens? This is something you have to fight for the rest of your life. Even might not be with this one thing, but does it make you a little bit more open for more negative to come in?
Yeah. And you know what? From my experience, it's kind of like once one of them knows you, they all do. You're sort of familiar to every one of them. Which is a frightening concept, but the fact that it's many and not one. It's just something you have to try to wrap your mind around and deal with.
What do you do, or what would you advise people to do to fight every day for healthy? What do you do to keep yourself healthy? Try to keep this at bay as much as you can.
Well, you have to know the things that there are certain things that will be triggers, certain things that not necessarily a trigger, I think that, but that make you more open. If even being physically sick, mentally or emotionally weak, and in any way is, anything like that. I keep things around the house. I have rosaries. I have this one. This one is still, I've got it and I'm going to keep it. And it has not broken yet.
What does that tell you?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, he gave me this. I've had it since then, and it is not broken. They usually do by now. It would have broken. And so
that's the actual one I gave her.
It is. That's the one. So, I have holy water around. Now I do have frankincense and myrrh. I usually sage on a regular basis. I haven't lately. But these are things that I do. I know the prayer of St. Michael like the back of my hand. I know other prayers and I say them often. But these are things I just are part of my life now. And you're always searching for something else that you can do. You just incorporate it,
Is you mentioned health. Health. How about mentally healthy? Because I'm a big one that thinks that your husband's grief, depression, any of this can bring you down to a level that can make it easier for something to attack.
It absolutely can. Any sort of stress, any sort of anxiety opens you up to it and makes you more pliable. It just does. Makes you weaker and it's harder to fight. I've had so many people tell me you need to stay strong. Just stay strong, have faith and stay strong. A, what does that mean? And B, I'm a human being. How the hell am I supposed to stay strong all the time?
No.
Right.
Just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen that way. Not in the real world.
No.
So,
that's why you need to have the backup if you have all these different layers.
Yes, you do.
One wall falls, you still have the other ones hopefully protect you.
And it's a huge one. And yes.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
All right. Well, I think the other thing too is you need somebody that's going to be by your side. You need somebody to talk to when things are getting too stressful. You just need love, whether your friends, your family, your other half. You need that love, and I think that's stronger.
Healthy environment.
Yeah,
support system.
It's a huge one. And that has helped me. You know what? Compassion and love has helped me up to this point more than anything else has. That has helped me.
Well, yeah, because the more compassion you feel, the more love you feel, the more, especially self-love. The more you self-love yourself, the stronger you'll get. So if you have people on the outside, the stronger you'll get mentally, physically.
Yeah.
I mean, I strongly believe that, not just about ghosts and demons, in life in general. Love is a powerful tool for.
Absolutely. It really is. And in this case, I'd have to say it is very powerful. It has kept me stronger than anything else, than any one thing has. So be acceptance too. People just accept it, and okay, it happens. It's part of it. What we're going to go through, and I know you have to deal with this, and that's okay. And that's rare. That's very rare.
Here's a good question. My sister Nicole has a good question.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always wondered this question myself. I am a religious person. She is not.
Yeah.
And for me, I always answer it with, well, maybe if it's what the person believes in themselves. But here's her question. What if you're not religious? What would you do to deal with it?
Even though, that makes sense. That's a valid question.
Yeah.
I'll start off by saying this. These things don't care what your religious belief is.
It's what you believe, though, right?
Yeah, it is. What I'm saying with that is, it's an equal opportunity thing with them.
Yeah.
Secondly, as far as what you believe, I have employed different things from different religious beliefs and backgrounds and spiritual things in order to help me to deal with this. So I grew up, in a Christian home, and I believe in God. I think my perception of God is a little bit different than, what traditionally what Christians feel like, and are taught. But I have done, different things to help deal with this that weren't necessarily, what Christians would do. Nothing bad, but, just different things as far as burning sage, some Native American practices, things like that. So, it all it is a belief thing. And if I had all the answers, then, I'd be telling a different story, but I don't have all the answers, and I can't say for sure exactly what you should do. There's no manual for it. There's no book that you can pick up and, say, hey, this is how you get rid of these things. Cause I don't know. I'm not sure.
I think it's all about, whatever that one person believes. If they believe in Mother Earth, if that's what they believe,
but also
your intent.
Whatever your belief system is, don't rule anything out. Don't stray away from certain things. Don't say, okay, I'm not Christian, so prayer is not going to work. Don't say that. Don't be afraid to
try something until you figure out what works for you.
Yes. Don't close yourself off, because that's not going to do you any good in the long run. It's really not.
Well, I can honestly say that I was raised Catholic. Okay. That's kind of funny because Catholics do not believe in the demons. Well, yeah, to a point, but I'm
Catholic, so.
I am not a religious person. Okay.
Yeah.
And what I did that day was something that was just drilled in my head as a kid, going to CCD and all that other stuff and remembering those prayers. And so coming from a person that is not totally religious, I would tell you probably do what feels right. And I also believe intent. Intent is everything as far as I'm concerned. In my opinion, if you believe it's going to work, it may just work.
Yeah.
It may not at times, but I would just go with your gut. That's what I would tell you. Go with your gut. Go what feels right. If you think sage is going to cure all, go right ahead.
If your belief and your intent is there, you have a good chance. It could be a tree. It doesn't have to be. It's better than doing nothing. Yeah.
It's better than doing nothing at all.
You're right.
Don't give up. Just keep trying.
If I did nothing at all that day, that would have been ugly in the parking lot of her hotel. How do you explain that? Seriously, EMTs come, police officers come. How the hell do you explain that? Good question, right?
Yep.
I've seen too many horror movies to know how that would end. In
Yeah,
the
right.
Interrogation room. Nicole says, "Thank you, guys."
Yeah, so if I would answer that intent, go with your gut.
That's what that's my whole thing. I always stress intent. If that's what you believe, then you believe it full force.
Yeah.
And you put your intent into it, and you put your intent on good things. Is it always going to work? No, because you need outside forces, but that's a good place to start, in my opinion. My humble opinion, because I've never been through this, but, you know.
I would agree.
Any more questions from the chat room? Let's take them 30 seconds to hear the question, because we're a little bit ahead of them, but, I forget what I was going to say. Hey, that's not bad. That's the first time today I forgot what I was going to say. Well, first time on the show. Not first time today, but the first time for this show. No fire alarms went off.
That's good.
You know, I get it, trying to end it with a smile, Is there anything that we've left out that you want to share? I mean, I know I skipped around a lot, but,
Yeah, no, I think we covered a good bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we covered a pretty good bit.
I think,
I mean, if people don't want to ask questions in chat, I mean, they're more than welcome to contact Cindy on her public page, email, that kind of stuff.
I will get to that. Don't worry, Mr. John.
I'm just throwing it out there, and I'm going to let you do your job. Just throwing it out there.
He knows I need a little help sometimes with my,
Yeah,
I've come a long way since back then. Like I said, you were my second episode ever, and then the fire alarms went off, and it was downhill from there. It was just like, fuck it, let's have fun. Let's tell some people off, and that's pretty much where we went with that show. Let's see, I think I think I covered what I didn't ask. You covered right out of the gate, so.
Yeah.
They're saying very good show, very interesting, very interesting information.
Mm-hmm. Also, too, I do want to say that if people want to know more, and get a more in-depth idea about, the whole experience, I do have a book that was released this year, and you can find it on Amazon.
Yeah,
and it's called The Exorcism of Cindy Sauer. You can also find it on Dark Moon Press, their website. Also, you can find it on my public figure page, which is Cindy Sauer on Facebook. If you would like a signed copy, just message me and we can work something out and get you a signed copy. So it is out there. It does tell the story a lot more in depth, and it really does give a viewpoint about the internal struggle, about, what it's like inside to have to go through. So,
I'm sure it's a good read.
Well, I mean, I have not read it.
I have.
Yes, he had.
Was it a good read, John?
The book, when she's writing the book, you can actually see yourself within the story. Not yourself, but you can actually see her.
Place yourself, yeah.
Yeah, you can place yourself in there, and it's the description throughout the entire book is phenomenal. And you can, if you have a very good imagination, you can really see this story. I mean, it's great. I mean, it's awesome.
That's when you know it's a good book and a good read, when you can put yourself in there. Again, anybody that wants to see her episode, I think it's on your YouTube, but I know it's out
can find it anywhere. Yes, you can find it on YouTube. If you contact my public figure page, just go, it's Cindy Sauer on Facebook public figure page. Yes, it's Cindy Sauer, Sauer. You can go on there, and one of us will get back with you, and
I've shared your page multiple times. So
okay, great. And we'll pop a link up to the episode as well.
Anybody that watches the episode, remember, they're trying to fit a lot into 40 minutes.
Yes, they
So
are.
if you want the full in-depth story, you got to read the book.
Yes,
Definitely.
absolutely.
But the episode was really good. I don't watch paranormal TV, but I've always liked the show, The Haunting.
Yeah.
And your episode, it was really good. I mean, I
Yeah,
know
they did
they
a good job on it.
yeah, they fit a lot in,
Yeah.
and but that's why I
Yeah,
like it,
they
because they're not trying to make it look it's a documentary, but they did a good job. So
I think they did. I was happy with it. They were troopers, those guys.
yeah,
Definitely were.
my sister said, as she was talking about her story, I could picture the whole episode. I've seen it so many times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she even said before, I was like, I gotta watch this. This was when you and I first talked. I mean, this was like in August. That's how far ahead we plan things.
Wow.
But I'm like, and I told her the name of the episode. She knew instantly what it was. She's like, that's a good one. She knew instantly who you were.
A lot of people do, and it's still very strange to me that people know this, and I've seen it. It's still kind of weird. Very surreal.
You're doing it for a good reason, to get the information out there, to help people. You're not alone. Isn't that why we do paranormal? I mean, I do this show for informational purposes, to get the information out there, but also to learn for myself. But the big thing is no matter what it is, you're not alone.
Yeah, that's a big thing. It is. Especially in this situation, that the isolation is, it's horrible. And I think that's what even leads to people, committing suicide in these situations. It's just, they're completely isolated. And,
I mean, substitute it for anything else. I mean, drugs, sexual assault, any of these things, so of course it takes a toll on you, any of it. But the big step is to know that you are not alone. There's always somebody. Yep. And if the first person you reach out to, I know it sounds like a teacher talking to a kid, but I'm being serious. If somebody is going through a paranormal situation, for real, a real paranormal situation, and the first person you reach out to does not believe you, don't give up. Keep going. You will find the right person.
Yeah.
Or contact me, contact Cindy, contact John, contact my sister Nicole, anybody on Paranormal Buzz. We will put you in touch with the right person, or try to, and if we don't, we will not give up. I mean, I know this about every one of us. Jen says, thanks, Cindy, for sharing your story and helping educate everybody.
Well, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate that.
So, okay, if you guys will hold on one quick second here. Where is it? I gotta switch screens. There we go. Okay, guys, I want to throw some shout-outs up there really quick, and I want to thank everybody for staying extra long. We kind of knew this would go longer than normal. Thanks to Jen, Nicole, Kim, Wolf, Alita, Jen. I'm missing somebody. John was in the chat, too. I can't scroll all the way down. I'm missing a couple people, but thank you to anybody that listens later on. We always love replays. Maybe we can get Cindy and John to come back sometime. That would be great to do a follow-up. Let's see. And they're saying yes. I know you guys, they're muted, but they are saying yes. So Sunday, 8 p.m., The Skeptic and the Psychic with some bitch named Shea and Miss Psychic Gen D. We are doing Halloween Haunted Legends. Monday the 29th is our spectacular Halloween show. That one will be live on YouTube and Spreaker. Magic Monday with Brittany and Benji. Special guests, Jen and Shea. So it's going to be a fun, full week of Halloween specials. And thank you guys, and I hope you have a great night.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in a cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised.